You are live. 1 second, let me put that down. Okay, video's uploaded. You guys are live.
Carol Allen is waiting.
Yeah. Good evening. It's October 5th, 2023. This is a meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee. We'll start out with introductions. Let's go around the room in person and then we'll go up onto the Zoom.
Lisa Raymond, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
The gentleman in the back.
Luke Johnson, Technical Support Specialist.
Good.
Dennis Pugliese, Director of Facilities.
David Warner, Co-Chair, Board Member.
Chris Allen, board member.
Jessica Muldoon, parent of 2 in the district.
Katie McGee, parent of a 9th grader.
Good.
Elizabeth Sandona, assistant to Dennis.
Very good. Okay, Amy,
Amy Ashley Moore, District Treasurer.
Walter,
Walter Simon, community member.
Fred,
Fred Seba, BBS Architects and Engineers.
Steve,
Steve Morton, PTA council, and 2 students in Woodland.
one. Okay. Michael,
Mike Messina, BBS Architects.
Carol,
Fred Seba, BBS.
Carol, can you hear me? Are you muted? I don't know. She seems to be frozen. All right, we'll try and get.
Sorry,
back.
David, are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yes. Just say
I'm
hello.
sorry. my it's coming in and out. Sorry. Gabriella Barahona, mom of 3 boys, 2 in the district, 1 soon to be, and active on PTA.
Great. Let's see. So Carol, did Carol drop off?
I'm back.
Okay. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, Carol Allen, community member.
Very good. Is there anyone I missed? Okay. So item number 2, let's go to the agenda. Find this here. Item number 2 is membership. Okay, so we're committee of the district. Again.
Hold on, we gotta share this.
Oh,
1 second.
okay.
Yeah, hold on. There you go. Okay.
Okay, can everyone see the agenda?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay. So last year we were a committee of the whole, so anybody from the entire board could show up. This year we've gone back to being a committee of the district. Therefore, we can only have 3 board members in the room at any one time. Of course, each year, regardless, anyone who's not a board member but who wants to be able to vote in case we have to make a recommendation to the board in one direction or another, then you need to get approval of the Board of Education, and we gather a list each fall to see who wants to be on the list. So far, we have Dr. Carol Allen, Gabriella Barahona, Megan Hunt, Sarah Lazari, Katie McGee, Steve Morton, Jessica Muldoon, and Walter Simon. Is there anyone else here who is not on this list but would like to be? Okay, so if you know anyone who'd like to be a voting member, have them contact me, David Warner, via email. I'm dwarner@greenburghcsd.org. I'm going to turn this in fairly soon for an upcoming board meeting, and we'll then have the board approve who the voting members will be. Okay, so then the next item on the agenda is the minutes of the September 7th meeting. Now, if I move to that document, what happened?
You'll be able to see it. Yeah, I shared the entire screen. So.
Okay, so we go here.
I can bring it up.
And we had more than one tab, right? Okay.
Hold on. Yeah. So, What's it called?
Minutes.
Minutes, contract minutes, right here. I already have it open in another tab, but we're fine.
Okay.
Okay, the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting, this is our September 7th meeting. Attendees were David Warner, Chris Fallon, Elizabeth Sindona, Luke Johnson, Amy Ashley Moore, Fred Siva, Dennis Pugliese, Lisa Raymond, Steve Morton, Michael Messina, Jessica Muldoon, Katie McGee, Gabriela Barahona, Sarah Lazari, Carol Allen, Tracy Maris, and Megan Hawk. We started at 6:30. Well, I'm just going to, anybody who's in person here, we have hard copy minutes if you want to take a look at those, and I'm going to scroll gently through, look and see if there's anything that you think needs to be corrected. There's our resolution for our charges. The superintendent gets to decide what the actual charges are. We gave her back the charges from 2 years ago and then added this piece at the bottom based on the discussion last time. Let's see what you think about that. Then there are the meeting dates for the year, and I'll post those on the district website fairly soon. Voting we've already talked about. Adopted some minutes. Went through the reviewed our facilities tour, and we had about a 200 slideshow. And I think I'm gonna take a subset of those slides and this text and put them together as a report, just to kind of pull that out in case we need to go back and refer to it later. We're supposed to have something like that each year. We reviewed the phase 2 proposed construction project, and we'll probably do a little bit of that again. Tonight, we talked about strategies to inform the public about the upcoming bond. And then we went over project status, and we'll hear an update on all of these projects again tonight. We talked about the grade level reconfiguration proposal data gathering that's still in process, or at least it was at that point. We talked about our financial status, the American Rescue Plan funding, the energy performance contract. Chris Vallon talked about the audit committee. We talked about our 5-year facilities plan and its effect on the strategic plan. And then we ended up with a number of strategic objectives from the board-wide plan, and we made some sample changes to those and gave a reason for each change. And we've now presented that back to the board, and the board gets to decide if they want to update the 5-year plan based upon what we have recommended. So basically, all this text is exactly what's in the plan. We say, you know, this is good, mark this as done. If you have, you know, if you want to color the box green or whatever, or if we need to change it, we tell you what we want you to change, and we tell you why over here. And so that's what that was about. The board has that. And then please note the BBS architects, Mike Messina proposed bundling phase 2. Let's see if the bond passes into 2 pieces. We'll get it done in 2 years by summer of 2025. We discussed the Edgemont Village Incorporation issue. We'll go back to that again tonight. A little bit. The FinFact committee recommended that we have the board discuss whether they want to send a letter out to Governor Hochul, and we followed up on that. So that's pretty much what happened last meeting. Does anybody see anything that needs to be corrected? Yes, Chris.
The only thing I'm noticing is that Mr. Siva's name is spelled wrong in a couple places in the document. He has 2 P's, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm looking at his name up there.
So Fred Siva.
Other than that, I move that we approve the minutes as
amended. All right.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're good. We have minutes.
Trustee
Okay,
Warner,
good.
you want to close that blue box?
Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the agenda. It luckily wasn't concealed behind anything. There we go. Okay, so at this point, the next item on the agenda is the phase 2 construction project, which we have gone over in depth and detail in the past. we have a video. So let's see if I can figure out how to get that, bring that video. There it is. So you may remember we had a slideshow last time in which we looked at the roofs, and it looks like we actually had some video footage that was derived from. And so this is one of the main vehicles we put out on all of our social media and our website to show what's.
Hello, Greenburgh community. I'm Dr. Iverson, the superintendent of schools, and I'm here to remind you to cast your vote for the capital construction phase 2 project on Tuesday, October the 17th. I am joined by Ms. Lisa Raymond, my assistant superintendent of business, who's now going to share with you some very important information about what we will be proposing.
Thank you, Dr. Iverson. The capital construction phase 2 project is part of the district's long-term plan. We are following our building condition survey that prioritizes work that is essential to maintaining our buildings. The district's Finance and Facilities Committee, which is made up of members of the Board of Education, Administration, and Community, is recommending the following projects to be included in phase 2. The replacement of roofs at the Woodlands Middle High School and Lee F. Jackson Elementary School, and the remaining roofs at Highview Elementary School and R.J. Bailey Elementary School. The estimated cost to replace the roofs is $11,950,000, which accounts for approximately 90% of the total proposed project. Constructing a new 8-lane track at Woodlands Middle High School is estimated to cost $1,175,000. And lastly, the construction of new tennis courts at the Woodlands Middle High School will cost approximately $500,000. To pay for the project, the district was fortunate to be awarded a grant from Senator Stuart Cousins of $500,000 for our Woodlands Middle High School track improvements. We will ask the taxpayers to transfer $3.5 million from the capital reserve that was established by the taxpayers and will bond the remaining $9,625,000 over 20 years.
We are proposing this project now because it is in the best interest of the district to replace the roofs on all of our schools before there are leaks that can create larger problems. The district feels this is a good time to include the track and tennis court improvements to enhance our athletic programs and availability for use to our community.
In addition, our team will be hosting public forums on September 27th and October 4th at the Woodlands Middle High School Auditorium at 7 p.m. to share information about the bond and answer any questions the public may have. The vote will be held on October 17th at the Woodlands Middle High School Gymnasium, located at 475 West Hartsdale Avenue in Hartsdale, New York.
Thank you for taking the time and to learn about this work we are proposing to make the Greenburgh schools a safe and comfortable place for all of our faculty and students. We know that these buildings, along with the education and extracurricular activities provided to our students, contribute to the pride in the Greenburgh community.
Okay, so good. So now I need to make sure that this thing doesn't automatically go somewhere. How do I turn it off?
Close the tab.
If I can find the edge of the tab, I'll be happy to do so.
Do you want me to take care of it? I think you got to resize the screen. The Zoom thing is in the back. Like,
Okay.
While you're working on the technicalities, I would like to thank Ms. Raymond and Dr. Iverson for doing a very nice video. It plays extremely well.
Thank you.
Good. Yes, I was really happy. We've gone through the numbers a million times, but to actually see the roofs makes a big difference. It makes a thing real to me. So I'm pretty happy. So most of the material in the agenda, we have here, you know, the individual costs for the individual roof pieces, the individual cost for the 8-lane track. We have the funding that was already described in the video. There's the amount of the bond. There's a little history of how we got here. I guess the one piece that we might want to reemphasize is the vote will be held in Woodlands Gymnasium. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. on October 17th. Contact the district clerk for information on voter registration and absentee ballots. That's K. DiFrancesco at greenburghcsd.org, KDIFRANCESCO at greenburghcsd.org. You can also call her at 914-761-6000, extension 3114. Estimated taxpayer impact is slightly over 21 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. It's cheaper if you've got a condo. For an average home valued at $558,100, the yearly impact is about $119. Approximately 88%, I think you said 90% of the project is for roof replacement. So that's pretty much it. And then we, going down here, we talked a little bit about all of our various, yes?
I just have one question. I did receive, a neighbor reached out about the wording on the absentee ballot. And they always reach out like, Jess, what's this about? Can you go over it with me? Do we have the wording of what's gonna be there on the ballot? Is it just a straight yes, no, or is it we have to say yes for using the capital reserve and then it's straight?
All one.
Well, one, okay.
Oh, it's only one.
All one ballot,
Okay,
Wait,
that's,
on one ballot or one question on the
all
ballot?
one question.
Because we've been
You're
saying
answering-
two.
You're
somewhere.
answering one question.
that's good. Like I was able to explain it and she was like, that makes sense, I've got it. But without having seen it, and then as it said here, asking the voters to move the fund, I just wanted to make sure I had that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's good. All right. So then we have a list of things that we have done here to publicize the bond, right? So we have the communications flyer in English and Spanish. We've sent it to various lists of stakeholders. People have distributed to neighborhood associations and put them in public places. I think we've got PTA people are out handing them out at farmers markets and things. The superintendent and assistant superintendent for business. I believe you've done some civic associations. Am I correct? Have you actually made any presentations?
We've had, Dr. Iverson held 2 meetings that had key members of businesses and civic associations and government associations. Yeah, we had 2 meetings by Zoom with those people.
Good, and we have we're broadcasting on channel 33 and channel 77. We had, in addition to this, we had 2 public forums. One was on October 4th
And September 27th.
Yeah, and September 27th. I should have added that to the list. I think we're cooking with gas here. Does anybody have any additional suggestions? Yes.
Yes, I mean, we mentioned here specifically Stone Oaks. Did you meet with other?
We reached out to Stone Oaks and a couple of others, and we offered but didn't do anything.
And then since Mr. Simon's on the line and he's raising his hand, you're probably going to answer what I'm asking.
Mr. Simon.
You're on mute. Mr. Simon, you're on mute.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to follow up with the meeting I had with Dr. Ivis and meeting I had with the board at High Point. I gave each party the numbers, telephone numbers, email contacts, and the boards here said that they would entertain a meeting here at High Point. So I'm just wondering if that ever developed.
I don't know of any email that was received or phone call. We'd have to ask Dr. Iverson.
Okay, so that's where we are. Gabriella?
Okay, okay, but I think, okay, I'll have to follow up because it took a lot of my part to get the boards here to agree. And I just would, okay, I'll speak to Dr. Iverson.
Okay.
Because we had tentatively arranged through the emails, we tentatively arranged that a meeting will take place the first week in October. And the board had all the contact numbers at, Dr. Iverson, assistant, the business, assistant superintendent for business and several other contacts. And we had contact numbers for the board members here. So I put that together, assuming that they will find a date. I think there's no point me trying to make the date for two groups that are meeting. But it's more efficient to put the two groups together, and then from that, they can figure out what date to meet. So I'll have to follow up on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Gabriella?
Sorry, I just wanted to add that I did volunteer this past weekend at the Hartsdale sidewalk sale, in conversation with one community member who lives in one of the apartment buildings down by the train station. She mentioned that, not specific to any flyers that come from the district, but just in general, when there are bulk mailings, it doesn't tend to make it into every mailbox. So she took a few copies of the bond and what's being circulated to place in the elevators. So as people are getting to their apartments or down, to go about their day, they can read it. But just wanted to point that out that she mentioned this. So I don't know if that's a conversation with the post office or.
So I know that I've been getting, I'm in a standalone house, so I've been getting everything. I got the newsletter, I got the flyer, I got the postcard. So I'm happy. Mr. Simon, did you receive a postcard?
Mr. Simon, didn't you say that when it's delivered to High Point specifically that it just, they're not being distributed amongst the mailboxes?
Okay. Now, if you send out information, your regular mailing, then it'll go to everyone's house. If you have a flyer, then I've been able to have those flyers posted in the lobby and placed on our internal website. So that has been taking place. So that was done. And then I said the second thing was trying to put people in contact so we could actually have a meeting here on High Point. And that's what I have to follow up.
Yes.
Because apparently that didn't come to fruition because it was supposed to take place the first week in October.
Katie?
To Gabriella's point about buildings and mail deliverers not always doing that. Years ago, one of the mail carriers left just in our vestibule a whole pile, and I ended up calling the post office and somehow getting a regional person, like a supervisor from White Plains, whose name was Roxanne. I just looked at my phone, I don't have her number, but that would be the way to go, because ever since then, she, had someone talk to the mail carriers, and now they're always in our apartment. So I don't know who would take that on, but in the future, if you encounter somebody who's not getting them because of that, they should follow up with the post office.
I know there's also a second postcard from the GTF that has been circulated. I don't know who they sent them to, but they have created their own postcard promoting.
And as their own independent organization, they can do whatever they choose. Yes.
And just as another data point, there were some buildings in my complex that weren't getting mailings. Last year I asked about it, I was told verbally they were on the list. They still didn't get mailings this year. So another trustee happens to live in the same complex I do. We pursued it, we found out those addresses are not on the list. They were added to the list in time for the postcards. We've received the postcards in all of those buildings. So if If you do not receive mailings and you want to confirm whether or not you are on the mailing list, please email Ivy Kraus, IKRAUS @greenburghcsd.org, or any of us, and we'll forward it on. What happens then is if you are on the mailing list and you're still not getting the mail, then it becomes an issue with the post office. Because at that point, it's out of our hands. We're printing the mail and sending it. It's just not getting to the end user. So that's that.
Gabriella, you still have your hand up?
Oops, sorry about that.
Okay, so. All right, so we have the one open High Point issue. Anybody else?
The district clerk will be at school October 14th from 9 to 12. We've asked her to stay perhaps a little longer and go down to the homecoming field where people will be to sign anyone up who needs an absentee ballot. So she will be here on campus that day.
9 to 12.
And there is a parade that morning, or
Yes, there
we
is.
don't know? Okay.
Yep, no, there is a parade, and I suggested that she post on the doors perhaps that she is located there if people wanted to come, so she could have a table set up there to catch all of the people, instead of it being in here in the building.
Might talk to you about making a little sign I can carry around. Ask me about the belt, and I can also run back and forth.
Yes.
I have one other initiative that the PTA Council has been working on in addition to the sidewalk sale last week at the farmers markets. We are working with each building principal, the PTA units, to also have a vote for the kids to do. So when they go with their parents to vote, kids will also be voting on a different initiative for their building. We are looking for things that are quick and easy to do and won't be costing any money, either a theme day or something else. So PTA and PTA Council are actively working on this right now. We'll get information out, but we'll have tables set up so the kids can do a ballot in addition to their parents going to do a ballot. So more information will be coming, but that is something we're working on to get the entire school community interested in doing this.
All right, other suggestions or ideas? Moving on. Oh, go ahead.
Is it planned or possible for the announcer of the football game to make an announcement at halftime?
To do what?
Saying, remember, everybody, we have a vote on Tuesday.
I think you have to be very careful what you say because we can't promote. We can't promote anybody we can't persuade. It's got to be worded properly so that it's neutral.
Right. So
Vote,
somebody would have
not vote
to
yes.
maybe vet something that's gonna be announced.
We could probably take one of the blurbs that we post.
Hmm?
Right,
Careful.
okay. And Lisa, you could be there and like silent the mic if.
All right.
I think it would be all right, but anyway, that was just an idea. And also Sports U, I think I mentioned this before, but I keep forgetting to get in touch with Mr. McCoy. There's lots of parents and kids on it, but I mean, a blurb on Sports U to all the parents. would be helpful.
Okay. Voting.
Are we putting banners up? The usual vote banners or no?
We haven't made any.
We don't have a specific.
Oh, you mean like across the road, like you do?
Signs to make sure that we can get to the polls. So they can put the vote.
We can put the regular vote. It doesn't have the date, that was what the problem would be.
So, but can't we bring it to I thought you could bring it to the company and they could put over it, like they did for.
Yeah, I don't know if
for
Kristen reached
Rita.
out to.
All right, let's check that out.
We usually have like a little cover, and then you usually have the one on West Hartsdale by the sign. It says vote.
All right.
Okay, what was the decision made? We could put up signs or not?
There are signs to tell people how to get to the polls on the day of the vote.
Okay,
There's a banner, but we have to put a date on the banner and we have to look into whether or not it's easy to patch that over.
okay,
So it's the technical, you have to take it offline and go find out what you can do.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so then, moving on. Facilities projects, at this point, we need to find the BBS report, which is this guy right here. And this is, let's see, how do I kick up the point size on this? So,
Hold on, let me get it on the download form.
okay.
This one. It's the, this one?
Yes. And this is Mike Messina, Fred Seba, and Dennis Pugliese. However you guys want to work your way through all the large projects.
Screen mode.
There, is that visible to everybody?
That's good.
Go ahead, Meg.
So, just to give an update from our last meeting, the security vestibule is still with the attorneys and the bonding company to work out the final details with the insurance. But once that's resolved, we should have a schedule and have some more information to pass along. The administration building, skylights are scheduled to be delivered this week, I believe today. And if they arrive, did they arrive, Dennis? I'm sorry. Yeah, Mike, they were actually delivered today. Okay, great. Great. So the contractor is telling us that he just needs 3 clear days of weather to install. And he should be finishing up everything else by the end of this month, in anticipation of just the punch list items being left over after October. The phase 1 projects, all of them are substantially complete. We've started issuing punch lists, and that work will ongo for the balance of this month. The Bailey Elementary Auditorium renovation project, we received technical review has been completed. Fiscal review, I believe, has been completed. I reached out to SED today because on their website they listed as done, but we don't have any verification of a permit being issued. So we're just trying to get to the bottom of that. The Woodlands tennis courts and track, there's no update from the last meeting. That's still waiting on transfer of funds for the vote. Elementary school, the partial window replacements, that's to be made the week of October 2nd, which is this week. I believe tomorrow is going to be submitted to the state. The fire hydrant project, there's no update on that. I just want to go to the next page, please. The EPC project, no update from our last meeting, as well as the roof replacement project that's still up at the state for review. So short and sweet.
Very short, very sweet. Thank you. Chris, do you have questions?
No, I just saw a note about something about a container needed for the units at Bailey, for the Bailey roof.
Oh, the storage container that, yeah, for the 9 units, there wasn't enough room in the parking lot.
Oh, okay, so that's not to put them in once.
No, that's already here and gone.
Okay.
That's when those,
Gotcha. Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
Could you just refresh my memory? It's been so long ago. What type of roofs are we applying to the buildings?
It'll be all replaced in kind. So if you have predominantly, I believe, you have a membrane roof, whether it's SBS or EPDM, it'll be replaced in that same system for the most part. Or a TPO, if you have a TPO roof, we'll do TPO as well.
Okay, okay. Was there any advantage of sticking to the same roof as opposed to putting the same type roof in all buildings, or the situation for buildings are so different that a particular type will be more appropriate?
It really depends on the existing building condition. A lot of times you can't it's harder to change. I didn't say you can't. It's harder to change a roof system because of the thicknesses of the roofing.
Yeah,
Or if the existing steel is pitched versus doing a tapered insulation plan, that type of thing. So a lot of it has to do with the existing building structure.
okay, thank
A
you.
lot of times it's beneficial just to put in kind.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, so now we're going to try and get back out of this one.
I do have a stupid question. Sorry. I know the fire hydrant project just went up there in August. But if it magically comes back in the next month or so, we now have to wait for weather. Is that correct? Does that now have to wait till spring to actually begin that?
Well, the next steps would be to put it out to bid, which is going to take a little bit of time anyway. So we would be able to start weather permitting as long as nothing is in jeopardy of holding up the project. It's probably safer to say we're going to start in the spring, but we've had mild winters before. We're working it done, so it's all weather dependent.
We're just nearly 2 years to the anniversary when this topic first came up. So.
Yep. Yeah, understood.
Okay.
What do you want to get to?
Okay, let's go back to the agenda.
There you go.
Okay, so we have the grade level reconfiguration plan. Are we still gathering data on that?
Correct, yes.
We have enrollment numbers for the year. I know Bed Day is coming, but.
Ed Day's gone, come and gone, so we should have the numbers.
Okay.
I don't have them.
Okay, so
now.
I'd like to see that when we get those. Okay. We probably all would like to see that. All right, very good. Then on to smaller projects. Here I was gonna do a little bit of a picture walk because we had a flood. We're gonna go down this list, but let me see if I can meander about here and show you a couple of pictures so you have some idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, I want to know how that.
So we had this ECP, we had a couple of different flood episodes, and most of these pictures are from the second flood episode where the when 7 or 8 inches fell in Manhattan. So this is, tell us what we're looking at here, Dennis.
We're looking at the air intake rate in room 2 at the early childhood program building. That's the fresh air intake. It's under 7 or 8 inches of water right there.
And this allowed water to
seep into the building.
Okay, and then the net result was this beautiful thing, right? And then we evacuated our students to Woodlands.
Correct, to the auditorium, yes.
And then I think I had one picture of, right, and so they were in the auditorium, and then there's a picture of the superintendent. You see the little pink boots there? It's like one of the last 2 kids at the end of the day. They all got on the buses and went home by the time the water had receded. So we kind of took care of things to the best of our ability. And this is what?
Okay, well, sorry.
Go ahead.
So at ECP then, I see a note here, we need to raise the height of the vent. Will that come under the original project scope? Because maybe that should have been.
You need to ask PBS that.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Messina.
So we're still investigating this with Dennis. We had some discussions today. Stu Gordon, our construction administrator, has been in contact with him as well. There is an area drain in the grass nearby. One of the first questions is, is that functioning properly? Is there pipes broken that go to it, et cetera, et cetera? So we need to look into it further to really speak intelligently about it. I'd rather not raise the grate up higher. Please, realize it's not even a 100-year storm that you had. You probably a 500-year storm. 8 inches of rain is crazy. But I think we just need to look at it in more detail and see what can be done at the most cost-effective measures possible. So if it requires raising the grate, we'll raise the grate. But I think that right now we need to look at what the drainage is for that building, you have a lot of site conditions there where the grade slopes down into that area and you got a lot of runoff happening. So I think we just need to look at that first with Dennis and come up with some solutions potentially.
Yeah. So just looking at this, so is the
After the water
then
has
we're talking
receded.
about the one right there in the corner?
Correct,
there?
yes.
Okay. Which is at ground level, not an impermeable surface. Excuse me, it is an impermeable surface.
Yes. With a drain in
So
it.
the grass drain you're talking about is not like it's right there in the direct
See,
vicinity.
there is a drain that you can't see, right where the arrow's like under the window there. See
Okay.
where that window is, right, like where you walk into the building, there's a drain right to the right, no, on the other side, to the right more, in the corner right down below there.
So
That-
as the
that's a low
downspout
spot.
comes out, let's just game this out. The downspout comes out, boom, a flood of water coming out of there. It's gonna drain towards that vent, towards that drain.
It goes down
So-
towards the arrow, there's a big hole, there's a
Right, but it's
fridge.
my point is it's gonna come out of that downspout.
It does drain, it
It's
does
like
drain to
fire.
that, but that's probably 8 inches in elevation, probably from the bottom of the drain, maybe almost a foot probably. But it doesn't look like it, but that's probably 8 inches of elevation from the drain to where the fresh air intake is.
Right, and just realize that you've had heavy rain events in the past. This has never happened before. There is an exterior door just to the right of that grate where you see the water that did come in. So the water was coming in at the doorway, the existing door as well, into that hallway at that point. But you've never had issues before, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, in the last year that I've been with you in the district and possibly even earlier than that.
13. Right.
Yes, it was there, yeah.
And
So-
Jerry,
So, that being said, I think that the systems that you have in place function properly and it was designed properly in the past. Again, it's just an extraordinary measures of the rain event that you had. I just want to make sure that the existing drainage you currently have is still functioning and there's no broken pipes, et cetera, from this event as well. We just want to make sure that that's the case out there.
Mr. Simon,
You're
you're
on
muted.
mute.
You can't assume what happened in the past is what's going to happen in the future in terms of rise in sea levels. In the town, we just increased the specifications of what a contractor, before we had, that you had to have drainage for 25-year storm. The town just increased that. It's the formula comes to about 42 or whatever the number is, but which is probably still, or at least from my perspective, is still low. So the obvious thing, of course, is that we have to make sure what we have is working. But if we find out that what we have is working, that we should not feel assured that this will not happen again. We need to look at those downspouts to see where that water is going. We need to see if you need to put additional drainage in there. So, you didn't do any of the work. I'm saying, in looking at the work, don't assume that if it's working, it's good enough.
No, I understood, Simon. I think that we need to work with Dennis, and unfortunately, there's not very good as-built of these buildings in the district to work off of. So it may require, some surveys and some digging and some selective demolition to be able to uncover what the systems are out there.
Okay.
And we don't even know how old they are either.
Mhm.
So, I'm more concerned about, due to the events of the rain you had last Friday, a lot of times you can't, the roof drains, for example, in a building can't handle the water that's been coming down from the sky. And I've seen, roof drain pipes burst because, they get backed up, they get clogged. And sometimes you know about it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you realize it, months later that, oh, we got a problem. There's a sinkhole over here. Oh, look, we must have busted a pipe from the previous, 100-year storm that we had back in October. So
Most systems are designed for a 2.5 or 3 inch rainfall. So when you get an 8 inch rainfall, those systems are going to be overwhelmed, and it's going to take time for that water to leach down and to, drain away. So I think that's part of the issue. And it wasn't just here. Obviously, it was roadways all over the place. It
Right,
was,
right.
a lot of systems got overwhelmed by this most recent rainfall, but we'll do our due diligence. We'll check and see what's there and make sure everything's working properly. And then we'll come back and report back to the committee.
Thank you.
Okay, and just to kind of meander through the rest of the area, so you have here, what is this, the C wing?
Yes.
Okay, so right now, this is where I guess some of our office workers are down here. So you come down the steps on the backside and there's a pond off to the side, and I think
We had to evacuate
pond-
that parking lot in the back of the cars from back there.
It was worse, well, yeah, by the time I got here, it subsided largely, but the pond was pretty much full, yeah.
The waters had receded there, the water was up to, you could, onto the roadway.
Mhm. See. And then this is something in an interior of a classroom in Highview. And this is.
This is a roof drain that we had repaired from the previous storm. What happened is the coupling, the old connection, this is the newer connection here. They put a new fitting in there. The last one had a crack in it, and when the water was under pressure from the 3.5 inches or 4 inches of rain that we had a few weeks ago.
On the 13th, yeah.
It was under pressure and it was just spurting out of there, several gallons per minute. During the last storm, there was a little bit of water coming out of the clean out part of that. But that was, I wouldn't want to say, any water you get is not good in the building especially when you're in the classroom type situation, but there was probably maybe a gallon every 5 minutes.
Okay.
Because the water was just.
Instead of multiple
pressure.
gallons per minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the Woodlands High School kitchen. Some water had come up through the floor drain. Okay. And then it receded after, the heavy deluge. Okay.
This is ECP, the water receded quickly and they pulled the rugs up.
A couple of hours later, after the picture you saw, that's what the room looked like.
Right. And let's see. Make sure we've seen this, we've seen this. Okay, I think that's.
was good then.
LF Jackson, we had to move some of the students from the one classroom and the art room downstairs, the downstairs, we just.
That was fine.
Oh, no, LF Jackson was virtually,
Jackson was
LF
fine.
Jackson was fine. Nobody had to be displaced there.
So I wanted to ask about the art room and Heidi, what happened there? How did that get?
It looked like water was coming in from the back of the building, from the mountainside, somewhere behind the wall. We're not sure exactly where it came from, but there was some water into the.
I saw
room
the
and,
discoloration
the hallway
on
over
the
there.
carpets and yeah.
So coming.
So it came coming up.
Coming up
Right.
from the.
So you're built on a slope.
You're on a
And
slope.
you
and it's all
ground
rock.
level
I guess
water.
where it started to
Yeah,
level off a
seeps
little
up.
bit, that was one of the paths.
Well, between us wanting to do the roofs, and but we're not doing the envelope, we can't really do much about the grounds. I'm just trying to figure out where water's coming from.
Right, so then we have to make corrections to
Right.
what the capacity of what we need to drain out the groundwater. Okay, so at this point, I think you should run through building by building.
Okay.
And
ECP main in the back of the building, caused an evacuation to Woodlands that we spoke about. Water came through the intake vent at room 2 that we looked at. And we might want to consider raising the height of the vent, but I think that probably the
We're
easiest
leaning towards
solution
this.
would be probably increasing some of the drainage out in that area.
Okay.
That's a discussion we're having now. LF Jackson, the quotes for running the electrical lines for the light poles at LFJ and Woodlands. Trenching work was substantial. We're still trying to address this in-house. We did have our tractor is down. The backhoe is one of our hydraulic hoses, we're waiting for a part on that, that's part of the problem. The damaged boiler, at LF Jackson, one of them's gonna be replaced under the energy performance contract. The contractors did finish work on the second boiler, so we have a backup now over there.
Okay, good.
And the playground mulch was installed, this is from last time.
Yeah, that was this one school that was in process when we did the tour. Yeah, and every other playground already had its mulch.
Okay, in Highview, we talked about the heavy rains on September 13th and the 29th, the first flood. The new roof held with the pressure from the roof drain sprayed, and that was patched over for the second storm. It wasn't anywhere near to the event that it was, but there still was somewhere where the students had to be relocated into the common area.
So do you anticipate servicing that further, or you're gonna say, we hope we won't have another 7-inch rain?
I spoke with the roofer and the plumbing contractor, that those drains aren't supposed to be under pressure the way they are. But some of that, we might need to look into creating some more drainage. Maybe we need to look at maybe the pipes, maybe there's something blocking one of those. That's something we need to look into. Maybe send the camera down the pipe and see if there's any debris down there, if the pipe has been compromised. Because during the storm, it seems to be fine, but it's like the 3.5, 4 inches. Maybe the system's just not adequate. We need to look into that.
Okay.
RJ Bailey, just a couple of wet ceiling tiles, no classroom evacuations. Phase 1 continues with the working controls and calibrating the boilers. The contractors are waiting for the heat to be turned on sometime around October 15th, sometime next week, to balance the systems at RJ Bailey, ECP, and Woodlands. The new gym pads, I spoke to Mr. McCoy. He's getting some updated quotes because the quotes that he had were from last year, and that looks like it's going to happen this year. Construction and waste storage bins have been removed, and the planned area to reduce the concrete. I have contacted the concrete contractor. That looks like it's going to happen before the cold weather session. Good. Woodlands, we widened the driveway entrance, the upper parking lot, repaved the driveway. The signage around the gym driveway that was damaged has been replaced. The quotes for the electrical lines at Jackson and Woodlands we already spoke about. Only flooded during the September 29th event. Water in the kitchen and sea wing. The pond came up to the roadway, and some cars were relocated from the back parking lot as a precaution. We need to possibly consider increasing the drain capacity there. Item 4 was spread on the football field driveway, and we continued cutting back trees on the campus. And a couple of bees nests were removed around the football field area and in the woods. And new mulch was laid down for the 10th free cross-country meet.
Yes, Chris.
Stupid question. Item 4.
Item 4, yes.
What is that?
Crushed stone. Like it's like a road base.
How big is it? Right.
Yep.
I did just drive down there before coming up. here
The new
tonight.
pathway towards the
I
police.
saw that,
It was
yeah.
horrible, and it was.
Yeah, but it's I wasn't topsy-turvy like in the past, so.
Yeah,
it
we
seems
had a lot of
smoother.
crushed stones
Yeah.
put down, even after the rain, it's still traversable. It's much better than it was. It wouldn't have held up anywhere near that well. Let's see, BBS report on the administration, building and skylight, roofing and masonry project, gutters near completion. Skylight was delivered today.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're working on the punch list items and some other items there, trying to get them to finish the project before the cold weather sets in.
Did the mansion survive the big rain?
Yeah, the mansion held up well.
Fantastic. Good test of the new roof.
The new roof, top of the hill.
The bus garage, that really hasn't changed, consider repaving and the electric charging stations needs a funding source.
Right. We have a big discussion about electric funding. We get the new roofs in place. You can put solar panels on top of the roofs, reduce, right? And then you pay less for fuel and more for electricity, but the solar panel offsets it and yeah, all that. Now we're on to, any questions on the facilities rundown before we move forward? Okay, on to finance. Lisa.
Oh, wait a minute, before we go, yeah, I'm sorry, I had me. Do we have a way of assessing the total cost that was attributed to the flooding? Do you have a way of assessing that? Or we could assess it and say how much money was lost due to the flooding?
Oh.
Because even though some of the money is on the list for replacement anyhow, we have to make sure that we don't have conditions that the new equipment will flood. So it's good to know what that cost is, and then you look at the cost of I guess we get insurance on some of, do we not? Do we have insurance on some of this?
There was no damage that we're aware of. Luckily, the ECP building was a carriage house with stone walls and the water was removed within an hour to 2 hours, which, it's stone walls, it wasn't sheet rock. There was no physical damage to the building that we're aware of. The tiles got wet, but that would be like when you strip the floor, they got wet and the water was removed fast enough immediately, so that there was no
physical damage to the building
at this point. Yeah, so there would be no.
Okay, thank you.
At this point.
Good.
Because last year we did install like all those pipes around the baseboards for the heating, right? So nothing there. Okay, good.
Right, and I went down and looked at the basement to make sure that the furnace wasn't flooded out, and other than just right at the entrance of the ECP basement, it was all fine. So, yeah. All right, on to finance.
At the last board meeting, a trustee asked about BOCES contract-related questions. She sent me that list, and I will have that researched and done for the next FinFAC meeting. We accepted a $500,000 system award grant from former Assemblyman Abenante, and once the work on the R.J. Bailey Auditorium starts, then I will submit for that funding from DASNY. I can't do anything about any future paperwork with DASNY for the $500,000 from Senator Stuart Cousins until the phase 2 bond passes. Then I will continue to submit the paperwork for how we are funding the rest of the project. And recently we heard from Assemblywoman Shinsky, who had requested that we give her some ideas how we would use $300,000 to $500,000 around our campus, and we received a letter Dr. Iverson did last week that she is giving us $174,000. Part of what we submitted, she wanted a couple of different options, and $174,000 was the option to replace all of the eye wash stations in the nurse's office. So that's what I will submit that paperwork to her office to start that process. I'm sure that will be going through DASNY also to receive that money.
Can't argue with safety.
American Rescue Plan update, as we have said, that as we, with any grant, you receive 25% upfront. So as we receive bills for the ventilation work that has been done through phase 1, we will submit, Amy will submit that paperwork to draw down that money, since that grant ends September of 2024. So we assure that we get the $1.6 million. Unfortunately, we found out last Friday that we did not get the security grant that we had applied for through the STOP grant, it was called. That would have helped us fund a dean of students, some other security measures around the district. What they did do, they cut back the number of awards they give. They typically give 70 to 80 awards. They only gave 47, and they concentrated on restorative justice, not security. So we can apply again for the next round for next year. So we are keeping all of that in our sites to apply for that. I have received some other options that we can do for grants for security, and we are looking into that to apply for some of that funding.
Okay. And the audit committee update, Chris?
The New York State audit continues. We hope to have a report on the tax certiorari portion of the audit in December, and the scope that they're focusing on right now is on time and materials. Last week, no, a few days ago, the audit committee met and received the report from our independent auditors. They will be reporting to the full board next Tuesday, October 10th. So tune into that meeting if you'd like to hear the full report. Once that report is accepted by the board, it will be posted by Ms. Raymond onto the district website. We will also be looking at the corrective action plan that same night and voting on the acceptance or adoption of that corrective action plan. I'm happy to say that the audit was very, very good. We only have 2 items that need addressing, and one of those 2 items is something that most school districts deal with nearly every year, and that's extra classroom activity funds and the management of the clubs with no financial activity. The other one is regarding inactive capital projects, and that's just a matter of cleaning up the books a little bit for things that have been getting completed over the last year or 2. So all in all, great job.
Thank you. I credit that to also Amy and the rest of the business office staff, who worked very hard to clean up the findings from last year. And I was, as if you ask Amy, I was quite the taskmaster to get them to get us to where we are, where we got today. So thank you very much.
We're also still seeking 2 public members to be part of that committee. So if you're interested, please email me, cvalin@greenburghcsd.org, cvalin@greenburghcsd.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
I don't have, oh, excuse me, the repair reserve fund. Are we going to talk about that? That we're moving the 3.5 with the.
Well, I believe that we have kind of talked about that already, right? So how did money get to the capital reserve for us to release for actual use? Some of it was in the repair reserve.
So we transferred money from the repair reserve, which the board can do by resolution, but in order to take it out of the capital reserve, we need to ask the taxpayer. So that's why it's part of the vote on the 17th. And if you remember in the past, prior to having a capital reserve, any excess fund balance over the 4% that you're allowed to hold by SED law would go into the repair reserve. But then we created the capital reserve, so any excess funds would go into the capital reserve. So basically, we've now, by doing this, after the vote, we will keep money in the repair reserve specifically for repairs and concentrate on putting money into the capital reserve.
And then moving on to the 5-year facilities plan. We saw this in the minutes of the last meeting. So we came up with the draft 5 years facilities plan, and we were running ahead relative to the district-wide strategic plan. And last month, we figured out, you know, what would we recommend to do to the strategic plan? And so, you know, that's now been thrown over the wall to the board, and the board gets to decide what to do with it. We've made our recommendations, and the next step is to go back to all of those status columns for the 5-year facilities plan. And so I think that's more or less an annual update from BBS. So have you guys taken a look at that yet? Fred and Mike?
No, that's not something we have looked at yet, but we can do that as we head into the fall with Ms. Raymond.
Okay, so is that something you could have for a November meeting, or do you want December? What do you think?
I think we could probably do the November meeting. Basically, all we're going to do is go through it with Mr. Pugliese and Ms. Raymond and check off any items that have been taken care of. And show them as completed. We'll probably leave them in the plan so that there's continuity, but we'll just show them as completed. So that's really all that we would be able to do at this point.
I think that's probably what we need. And if this bond passes, then that's another major milestone, and a number of things will be set in motion to be taken care of. Okay, good. Okay, reading update plan. Okay, then the Edgemont Incorporation issue. Edgemont Incorporation may significantly increase property taxes in unincorporated Greenburgh. That is if Edgemont becomes its own village, including our school district. There's a petition, I guess, in the works for that. This will negatively impact taxpayers and make school budget and bond passage more difficult. The board back in February requested the state controller financial impact statement prior to an incorporation vote. The vote include the entire town, not just the people in the village area, and including the impacted school district. So that's, you know, it impacts us too because we're coming out of the same tax base. The superintendent met with Assemblywoman Mary Jane Shimsky and Senator Andrea Strait-Cousins on the issue. Board President Mayers and Superintendent Iverson spoke at a Saving Greenburgh meeting on this topic back in April. Senator Cousins, then, you know, there was a PACE study, and she said, we're going to do something about this. And you come on down to the last day of the legislative session, and in fact, there was the Senate Bill 7537, which Andrea Strait-Cousins sponsored, and it includes language to the effect the establishment of a village is not, that the establishment of such a village is not in the fiscal service and the taxation interest of the population, which would constitute the residents of such village. This is a grounds for objection, or the population which constitutes the residents of such a town, meaning not just the village, the whole town needs to weigh in on it, and that's what was in the legislation. But there is a little provision stuck in at the end of the bill that says, hey, if you already have an existing petition, somebody put a signature on it, before January 1st, 2024, it's grandfathered out of the provisions of the legislation that changes and reforms everything and appoints a commission, and that kind of leaves us where we already are. So the coalition requested Senator Cousins' bill be modified to remove the exemption and encourage the community to write to the governor in support of the position. There's actually a template for writing such things. So the bill has passed the Senate and the Assembly, and now it's waiting for the governor to sign it. And there's a method by which you can modify the legislation slightly prior to the governor's signature, and that's what we're trying to leverage. So Dr. Carol Allen can provide an email template for anyone interested. If you're interested in that, you can email her at carolballenmd@yahoo.com, carolballenmd@yahoo.com. The Finance and Facility Committee back in our September meeting said, you know, maybe the board wants to send a letter in too, so maybe they should discuss that. And then on September 12th, the board did in fact discuss that and decided that they wanted to approve drafting such a letter. And there is one. So now I've got to see if I can find the letter. Probably hidden under this somewhere. No? You can see it? It's probably under this column.
You can move that.
If I move this over.
Just past it, it's on the far right side, on that upper screen.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
us, you guys are.
we're
covered,
trying.
So.
And is it, there we go. Okay, so this is Tracy, right, signing this. Governor Hochul, the Greenburgh Central School District Board of Education wishes to bring it to your attention to a Board of Education resolution approved in February. And this is the resolution that basically says everything we talked about before. And then following the resolution, right, authorizes the superintendent of schools to send a letter to our position. While we commend the recent legislative efforts, the Senate Bill S-7537 and S-7538, which are currently waiting your signature, we strongly urge that amendments be made to S-7537 prior to its implementation. The district fully supports the establishment of a commission tasked with reviewing petitions for incorporation, with a focus on assessing the viability of the incorporation plan and its impact on the remainder of the town. However, we vehemently oppose a section of the legislation that grants exemption to any petition initiated before January 1st, 2024. We respectfully request that you consider removing the section of the legislation that allows for exemptions based on petitions initiated before January 1st, 2024, before signing this legislation into law. Furthermore, we also urge you to endorse the corresponding legislation S-7538 authored by Senator Scoofy. So there's another bill that has another somewhat lesser reform package to it, which would immediately implement a requirement for any incorporation petition to include the posting of a financial analysis on a public website for a period of 90 days prior to a referendum. Currently, there is no mandatory provision. We emphasize the importance of granting a voice to all individuals who may be affected by the village incorporation. As such, we believe that all eligible individuals should be allowed to vote on such petitions, one of our original requests, ensuring the process is inclusive and democratic. Your attention to these matters is greatly appreciated, as they bear significant implications for communities' future and well-being and decision-making process. And that's Tracy Mares, and I think there was an online version that you submitted and a hard copy to be signed. So that's where we're at. And that's as much as I know. Dr. Allen, can you give us, has there been any change in the status of this issue?
There has not been any change as far as the legislation to my knowledge. I thank you very much for having submitted the letter to the governor. I did learn today that the CGR consulting group that is being contracted by Senator Stuart Cousins to study the financial implications of incorporation has a signed contract now, so that hopefully they will start collecting information and performing the study soon. That's all.
Okay, so we will hope for the best. All right, so that is pretty much everything that was on my agenda. Does anyone have any additional concerns that they wish to bring up? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Well, I do one thing, David. I know it's a very tricky thing about the school board getting involved in politics. However, seeing how the school board felt comfortable writing the letter, why not post that letter so anyone could sign on and send a letter to the governor? Would that create any legal complications? Posting that on the school website?
I can certainly check with legal and find out if there are legal complications.
Yeah, because you already took the first step by sending the letter.
They're signing on to it, that's a different story.
Yeah, but I think we should check that out.
Our section.
Right, so there may be conditions under which we can do it, but how we frame it may be important.
Right.
Okay, we will check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other items that anybody needs to discuss? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? So move. I hear a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, David, for all the work you're doing.
It's on the 17th. 7:48.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.